My blood pressure was perfect. My B12 was ideal. And I do take a B12 supplement from time to time, but I am not religious about taking anything. And I love to cook. Don't have time to cook all the time, but my craving for meat and cheese and milk, that's pretty much just gone away. And actually, it's easier to eat plant-based than it is to worry about, well, who's gonna grill the meat? It's just easier when you don't even have to think about cooking it.
Welcome to the Plant Based Eating Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Anna Zinn, plant based registered dietitian and transition coach. Hi, friend. Do you want to regain your health with plant based eating but feel overwhelmed and lost about how to do it? Do you feel it'll be hard to change your meat heavy diet and impossible with working, running the home, or chasing after the grandkids? If so, you're in the right place. Here you'll find simple strategies, clear nutrition guidance, and practical tips to help you thrive plant-powered with more energy. So if you're ready to ditch the guesswork and transform your health the stress-free way, cozy up now with a hot cup of tea or listen while you walk, and let me show you how doable plant-based eating can be. Let's do this. Hello, and welcome back to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast, and to this second part of the interview I have with my special guest, Susan. For those who missed the first part or haven't listened to it yet, in the first part of the interview, Susan and I talked a little bit about what her lifestyle and previous diet was like prior to moving to plant-based eating. By all intents and purposes, she was eating a pretty healthy, regular diet, quite health conscious, focused on clean eating and eating organic meats, free range eggs, and organic milk. She also enjoyed fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds as well. But she always had an issue with cholesterol levels since she was 19 years of age. And that was something that was always on her radar and made her more health conscious, especially with a history in her family of cancer, of diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol, and her mom having 5 strokes. So all these things made her want to be as healthy as possible and to bring down her cholesterol levels as much as possible. But it came to a head about a year or two ago when her cholesterol levels were really quite high in 300 range, and her triglycerides were also high. She saw a more holistic doctor, and the nurse practitioner had recommended that she eat a high protein diet of 90 grams a day, eating organic meats, organic milk, and eggs, which is pretty much what she was doing already. She also took a bunch of recommended supplements, and she did that for a year. And when she got her blood test results back, it showed that her cholesterol levels, instead of going down, had gone up by 2 points. It was now 302. Her triglycerides were still very elevated, and she was still having some borderline high blood pressure issues as well. So she asked the doctor to give her a month, and she ended up doing her own research and watched a bunch of documentaries and then started to try a plant-based diet. So thank you for joining us again, Susan. Let's pick back up on how plant-based eating has changed your health. You mentioned that after you started plant-based eating, 3 weeks later, you took your blood test again because you wanted to see what it would be like. Could you just recap a little bit how that changed?
And yeah, so when I went to the pharmacist that's here locally that does the blood panels for state employment, my cholesterol had gone down, a drop in 3 weeks, 80 points. And the crazy thing is, when I first started doing the plant-based eating, of course, I was like, "Oh my goodness, what am I gonna do about not being able to eat a hamburger?" So when I first started doing this, I was really trying to research all these meat alternatives and cheese alternatives. So I was really excited about the Beyond Burgers that we were grilling and being able to eat plant-based cheese, even though I didn't think it tasted good, but I could still make a pretty good hamburger and be satisfied with it. I consider myself a whole food plant-based as much as possible. But when I first started doing this, I didn't care so much that it was whole food plant-based. It was just more that it was not animal-based. And so eating all of the quote fake cheese that everybody says and the fake meat, I was eating all of that, and my cholesterol dropped 80 point in 3 weeks. And then along with my husband's diabetes, when his blood sugars being corrected, I was like, I'm definitely on the right track. I did not call my doctor back and tell her that I had paid to get a new blood panel. I just thought I would wait until a few months ago when I went back to her. It had been another year that she said she lost sleep over it. So I went, and I didn't tell you this yet, but I started losing weight. So I'm 5'9", and I know this probably doesn't sound like a lot to many people, but I had gotten up to 169 pounds. And for me, I'd never been 169 pounds without being very pregnant. So I was, quote, borderline overweight, but not really considered officially overweight. Well, when I started eating the plant-based, I just started losing weight, but I was eating more food than I had ever eaten in my life. I was eating so much food, it was crazy, and I was eating bread, and I was eating anything that was not animal, but I was eating everything else that you see across the board, like, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, but all these carbs, they're terrible, 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 and I was eating all of that, and I was losing weight. And after a year of doing it, I had lost 19 pounds. So I was down to 150 pounds. And now I've lost another couple of pounds, even just in the last couple of weeks. I eat so much food, it's insane. People would look at my plate and go, how in the world are you eating that much food? And my husband has not been on metformin at all. And he went back to the doctor, and his doctor said that he is not considered diabetic anymore. So that's wonderful.
That's fantastic with your husband being able to get off metformin. So that is motivation for him to continue plant-based eating to keep his blood sugar levels steady. And it's like you said, at first it seems so contradictory because with diabetes, you're supposed to count the carbs and restrict and monitor how much you're eating. But in plant-based eating, you're not really worried so much about the carbohydrates. And as he's eating that, his blood sugars have improved to the point of not needing metformin or being no longer considered diabetics. That's such a encouragement for those who have blood sugar issues to hear that, to see that blood sugars can improve when you're eating a plant-based diet. So a year later, you said you got the blood work and you went back to see the doctor. How has your blood work changed? Has it still stayed in good condition? And what did your doctor say?
Yeah, so the last time she saw me, my cholesterol was 302. And she's telling me she's losing sleep over me. So I went back, and she walks in and she goes, oh my goodness, you've lost some weight. And I said, I sure have. And she says, what have you done? Because she and I are the same age. And I said, you've lost weight too. What have you done? And she told me, oh, I exercise 7 days a week. I'm very conscientious about what I eat. I eat no sweets. And she goes, now tell me about you. And I said, well, I started doing whole food plant based. And she went, oh, did you really? And I said, yes, I did. And I didn't try to lose weight. It just fell off. I ate more food than you can imagine, and it just started falling off. And she said, you got my curiosity up. So anyway, they were telling me that my thyroid numbers were off before. And I said, I want you to check me for my thyroid. And of course, my cholesterol and my triglycerides and my B12 and all these things. And she says, okay, 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 okay. And I'm going to check you for anemia. I said, why are you checking me for anemia? Is it because I'm not eating meat? And she said, yes, that's the biggest thing we worry about is anemia. I said, well, then check away. And she kept running. So a few days later, she called me back, and she goes, well, you win. I was just laughing. And she said, all your numbers look great, Susan. I can't complain about anything. My cholesterol, now it still is hovering, it's below 200, but it's hovering kind of where it was in my very young years. I do believe that it will go down as well. but I do think my cholesterol just naturally is high. But my triglycerides are so low, she said it's not even a conversation. My blood pressure was perfect. My B12 was ideal. And I do take a B12 supplement from time to time, but I am not religious about taking anything. And I love to cook. Don't have time to cook all the time, but my craving for meat and cheese and milk, that's pretty much just gone away. And actually, it's easier to eat plant-based than it is to worry about, well, who's gonna grill the meat? It's just easier when you don't even have to think about cooking it. And I just don't even want it. And then after watching these documentaries about all of these sick animals, it's gotten to a point where I look at a chicken sandwich and I'm like, that is that sick white chicken. And I just can't even stand the thought about eating it anymore.
Wow, what a change, Susan. Thank you for sharing that. And I loved your doctor's reaction after seeing your blood results come back and how everything was fine, even you had no anemia, and how she said you win. That's so hilarious. But hopefully, your example opened up her eyes to the possibility of the health benefits of a whole food plant based diet. And she may be more open to possibly recommending that to other patients down the line. I think it's wonderful how you did not have this goal of losing weight, but it just naturally kind of fell off as you were focused on eating the right kind of foods, those whole plant-based foods, minimally processed or unprocessed whole plant-based foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, whole grains, and that you ate more food than ever because I think many people are worried when they move to plant-based eating because whole grains, beans, lentils, and fruits have more carbohydrates. They're worried that eating more carbohydrates is going to cause you to have more weight gain. So it's really refreshing. And I think it helps to encourage many of those listening today that it is possible to eat a plant based diet, eat more carbohydrates as long as it's the right kind of carbohydrates, and you're able to eat a greater quantity, more volume, without having to worry so much about gaining weight as a result or worsening your diabetes. I'd love to dive into now the practical side of plant based eating. Because you mentioned you work as a realtor, and that is a very busy job that you have, especially if you have your own company as well. So, how do you manage to stay plant based eating? As you mentioned, it's been about a year. Are there perhaps one or two specific meal prep strategies that you use?
I kind of have my morning routine. I like to also bake breads. I like using organic wheats and stuff like that, but I also will buy organic bread. But my go-to is I will have a bowl of oats and I'll put my flax seed and my chia seed. I grind those in my Vitamix and I'll put wheat germ on it. I know it sounds awful. And I put a couple of dates in there and I cook it. And so the dates actually sweeten my oatmeal. And then I just cook it with water and I add my fruit on top of it and I add nuts to it. And it's just this big filling breakfast that I have. And I'm thinking, how can I even eat this much food? But I do. It's a big bowl. And for lunch, if I'm running around, I have my go-to places. We have a wonderful Thai restaurant here, and they're really good about doing meals with tofu and steamed vegetables and mix it in with some of their sauces that they use, and that's really good. I'll go to Chipotle and order just a vegetable bowl. I love to go to Cava, and I get all the grain bowls, and I just load it up with everything that's plant-based, and I love tahini dressings. I'm a fruit fanatic, probably eat as many as it's servings of fruit a day just because it's my go-to grab and run with. My counters are constantly full of fruits and fresh things like avocados, onions, and stuff like that, but I love avocado. I'll take a piece of bread and toast it and slice avocado, put it on there with salt and pepper and lime juice. That's one of my favorite to make with fresh tomatoes on it. But yeah, I just love food, and I've just gotten so used to not eating meat. We do tons of grain bowl. I make lots of different burritos with beans. We eat beans all the time. I'm surprised I don't have a thing of hummus in my pocket. I love hummus. Yeah, I try to really focus on making sure that I eat beans and green every day.
That's definitely important, the beans and the greens. And it's so wonderful to see the changes in your taste buds over the past year. Right at the beginning, how you said you didn't think you could move away from animal-based products like the cheese and the meats, burgers, to eating some of those vegan meats and vegan cheeses, to now feeling you're able to enjoy a whole range of whole plant-based foods and not really craving for the animal-based foods anymore. I bet a year ago you didn't think your taste buds could change or could adapt to this way of eating, but now it has. So that's fantastic to see. So, having eaten plant based for more than a year, do you find this way of eating more or less expensive than eating a regular diet?
Less expensive by far. But I also would not buy cheap meat and cheeses and milks. Like I said, I was drinking organic, grass-fed, everything with my milk, and I can't say that I still don't love cheese. I just don't think about it like I used to. I don't eat it because it's just not in my refrigerator, and I don't crave it like I used to. But I used to buy all kinds of cheeses. I would buy Brie and Camembert, Havarti, and just all kinds of nice cheeses. I would buy grass-fed beef and organic whole free-range chicken and stuff like that. And my grocery bill has drastically gone down. Drastic.
That's fantastic because many people are worried that plant based eating is going to be way more expensive because you're eating more fresh fruits and vegetables and other plant based foods. But in reality, I don't think it needs to be.
Well, there's nothing less expensive than beans and rice, right?
Yes, especially dry beans and whole grains that you can just rehydrate and cook. So that's definitely, I think, the cheapest source of protein out there. Thank you for sharing about what a day is like for you in terms of your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think that gives our listeners a nice snapshot into what it's like eating plant based. Hearing your experience is very helpful. So, as we come to a close with this interview, I'd like to ask you, do you have a key takeaway tip for our listeners of something you've learned from your experience of living out a plant based lifestyle for more than a year that you'd like to pass on?
I just think if you would just try it. I think if you could just challenge people to do their blood work, see where they are, try this for 90 days. Don't be just like, you know, do it for a year. Just try it for 90 days. I think in just a 90-day period, people's health levels will become better in just a short amount of time. I have a friend who started doing it, and she said she realized she had had reflux since she was 12 years old. And she said all of a sudden she realized that she's not having reflux anymore. And she'd been doing it for such a short time. And she is eating so much food, she says it's crazy. And she's lost 16 pounds. And so I just see these people that deal with all kinds of issues, and they're friends of mine, and they see me do it, and they're trying it, and they're all just convinced that it's the way to go.
This is so inspiring, Susan. Thank you for this takeaway tip. I agree. It's definitely worth a try. Sometimes, if you don't try something, you won't know if it will really help your health condition. And what is the worst that could happen from just taking out 90 days from your life, your current way of eating, trying a plant based diet just to see the potential benefits it can have on your health, on your blood sugar levels, possibly your cholesterol as it has for you, triglyceride levels, blood pressure. There can be so many benefits. And just like the friend that you mentioned who experienced improvement in her reflux, something she's been dealing with since she was 12 years of age. Wow, that is just fantastic to hear. So I agree. Why not just try this and see it as maybe an experiment on your own body for 90 days and track it, right? Do that blood work beforehand so that you have something to compare it to at the end of that time. But really commit to it to really fully try it out. So thank you for sharing that, Susan. I appreciate your honesty and sharing and your vulnerability and just sharing about your health and what took you to the point of trying out a plant-based diet and the impact that it has had on you and on your husband, and I'm sure on potentially your other family members and those in your social circle as well. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Susan, and I appreciate the time that you've taken to come on to this show.
All right. Thank you.
I hope this guest interview has truly encouraged and empowered you on your own health journey, showing you that change in your own health circumstances is possible. It does not need to stay where it is, and you do not need to stay where you are. You may just need the right support, guidance, and strategies to enable you to make the lifestyle changes you need in order to see positive health transformation in your own life. So, if you're excited at the possibilities of eating plant-based for your own life and health circumstance and want clear guidance and support on how to best move forward in this, do reach out to me by email at healthnow@plantnourish.com or apply for a free rapid health transformation call using the link in the show notes. We'll be able to connect, and I can then better understand your specific health situation and challenges and let you know what I think the next best steps are for you in your plant-based diet journey. I would love to support you so you can reach your health and weight goals with ease while enjoying a thriving plant-powered lifestyle. Thank you so much for listening. If this podcast has inspired, encouraged, or helped you in some way to transform your health, I would love to hear about it. Please take 30 seconds to rate and leave a written review on Apple Podcasts to let me know. It will encourage me so much to hear how this podcast has positively impacted and made a difference in your journey towards wellness. And share about this podcast with a friend or loved one so we can all thrive in the best health. Remember, plant-based eating can be easy and doable. See you in the next episode, my friend.